Does anyone ever not respond to a GLP-1 in my experience? The answer to that question and so many more on today's Office Hours. Welcome. Hello, I'm Dr. Meghan. I'm a board-certified obesity medicine physician and weight loss coach, helping you cut through the pseudoscience and confusion in weight care. My approach combines evidence-based medicine with real behavioral change. So you don't just take medications, you actually transform your health. So, as always, today we are going to talk about all the questions that you have sent in. Thank you so much for all these wonderful questions. And if you have a question afterwards, you can leave it on this video or another video. I will find it and add it to the list. These questions come from the community, so I would love to hear from you. As a caveat, I can't answer personal medical questions. So if your question is a little personal, I'm going to change it so it's more broadly, educationally relevant to everyone. And let's get started. Before we get started, side note, if you are on a GLP-1 and you have a lot of questions and you really need more of a plan and you love your doctor, but they don't have the time to go over things with you, answer your questions, really review like what an ideal plan would be for you on this medication in terms of what to eat, when to eat, how to deal with all those other things that come up with the medication, urges that don't always go away, food noise that doesn't always go away, all the questions that you have that you know your doctor doesn't have the time to answer. Listen, I hear you. I was that doctor. The whole reason I made my coaching practice is so I can really help people answer those questions and develop the best plan for them on the GLP-1 medication. So while they're taking the medication, while their doctor is handling the dosing, we're optimizing, we're improving, we're helping you get the best lifestyle changes to really help your medication work to the best extent possible. So if you want to talk about that, if you want to hear more about how I help people just like you, click on the link in the description box down below and I will tell you. All right, let's get started. First question today. Random question: since you deal with these drugs daily, have you had any patients not respond to a GLP-1 at all? And if one drug doesn't work, do they usually have success with the other, or are there cases where neither drugs work for somebody? Also, do you happen to know why this is the case, or is it just the wonders of the body? What a great question. So yes, I have treated thousands of people. I have prescribed these GLP-1 medications for years and years. I can count on one hand the number of patients who have not had any response or any worthwhile response from any GLP-1 medication. And these patients really tend to have a combination of things. They have a medical issue that is weight promoting, like type 2 diabetes, like sleep apnea, like PCOS, and they're also on multiple weight promoting medications. So, and this isn't everybody. I have a lot of patients that fit this criteria and they respond really, really well to a GLP-1 medication. But in the very, very rare circumstances where I think this is so rare, where really like nothing's working for somebody, it's always been like they have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and multiple other medications that are weight promoting. So they're on something like high dose gabapentin and Zyprexa and like an SSRI like Paxil or Effexor or like an SNRI like that. Like it's always a combination of issues. So like I said, you could have all these issues and still lose weight on a medication. And to be honest, like when I meet the patients like that, I have the lowest threshold to start a medication for. Like some patients, you know, we're talking and they're kind of on the fence about it. If somebody has a weight promoting medical issue and they're on weight promoting medications, I really want, like, I want them to do all the lifestyle changes. I want them to work on all those things. But I also think like you could do all those things, which are still going to be good for you, and you may not see any change in your weight. So let's also start a medication as soon as possible if they are, obviously a good fit for medication otherwise. So that's I think the only times I've seen that happen. Usually, if somebody's not responding to one medication, they typically respond a bit better to another medication. It's usually like they don't respond well to Wegovy, but they do really well with Zepbound. But I've definitely had patients go the other way. They're like, I didn't like Zepbound at all, and then I started Wegovy, and it was great. So you can't predict it. And there is some literature now. There's some early studies that show that there are likely some genetic factors, which is to be expected, that will likely influence how well someone responds to medications. And I've made other videos about that. But yeah, it's incredibly, incredibly rare. For GLP-1 medications, also, you can add other medications if it's the right person. So if somebody's not, I've definitely had patients get suboptimal results, like not the, average results that we're looking for. And so that might be somebody who might, if they're a good fit for phentermine, is worth a try. If they're a good fit for Contrave, is worth a try. If they're a good fit for topiramate, is worth a try. So there's lots of other, levers that you can pull to try to get a better response for somebody. But in terms of it just across the board not having any success, in my experience, like super, super, super rare, thankfully. So great question. Thank you. Next question. I've caught up on your videos from the last couple months, so I know this is not an approach that you fundamentally support. If a person early in their use of Zepbound experiences successful weight loss and zero side effects, and they have done this by extending doses to 2 weeks, what is the downside of continuing to do this as long as they are meeting their weight loss goals and they were able to do so with very limited food noise? What benefit are they not receiving from the medication that they would be receiving if they used a higher dose? I have probably watched about 1,000 videos on GLP-1s and believe that the medication is science, but dosing is an art because everybody responds differently to it. This is a great question, so thank you so much for sending it in. Yeah, I would say yes and no. Like, yes, in general, I'm not a fan of people going too outside the bounds of how to dose the medication because it is intended to be used every week. And if it's not working for somebody every week, then it's the first step is to change the dose. And usually the option is to go down. That being said, I have some patients that really, they get the best results on Zepbound 2.5, the lowest dose, and they take it every 10 to 14 days. And that just tends to work for them. When they take it every week, it's too much for them. And so in those cases, I will extend the dosing. I was thinking about this more the other day because I have had, and I think I mentioned this in a recent video, I have had a couple times where, I'll have somebody on a higher dose, like say they're on Zepbound 10 and, they want to go up to 12.5 because the 10, they're not losing as much weight as they wanted to. They go up to 12.5 and it's too much, or the side effects are too much. But if they do 12.5 and they do it every 10 days, it works. Or, every 12 days, or they do a longer dosing at a slightly higher dose. And, sometimes that just works for people. Again, that's really, really rare. Gosh, I don't know. That's probably like less than 5% of patients. Like, don't quote me on that, but really, usually I try to stick to the general dosing guidelines, but this happens with any medication. Like, there are some people who, you're supposed to take your lisinopril once a day, and for whatever reason, it just works better for them to take it twice a day. And it's not typically how we would do things, but for them, it tends to work better. We've tried a bunch of other, sometimes you have to be a little bit creative to get the best results for the patient. And as long as the end results are really net positive and everything is moving in the right direction, that's what matters at the end, right? Is that the person is doing well, they're healthier, they're feeling better. So and it's not, the risk is, the benefits outweigh the risk. So you're absolutely right. Dosing can tend to be a little bit more of an art than a science, but that's not where I usually start. But in rare cases, there are times where I think it is appropriate to go a little bit off the beaten path. And of course, this is always a conversation with the patient to let them know, like, hey, this is not typically what would happen, but I think it's worth a try because of X, Y, and Z. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Next question. I was researching these weight loss drugs and was trying to figure out which one people lost the most with and how many weeks/months it took them, etc. I estimated it would take me a little less than a year to lose the weight I needed, and I found myself getting caught up in the numbers and feeling like that's not fast enough. I had to stop and remind myself that if it wasn't for this medication, I wouldn't be losing any weight. I would still be the exact same weight this time next year. So what if it takes a year? I've tried literally everything for the past several years and nothing has worked. So I thought to myself, you need to be happy with the fact that you are even able to lose any weight. So this is not a question, but it's a comment that I wanted to broadcast to a broader audience because I'm so thankful that this viewer shared it. And I think it really highlights a mental struggle that I think a lot of people are going through, especially if they're on this medication. They probably have friends and family that are also on a GLP-1 medication, and they're probably on social media and they're hearing a lot of chatter about how much weight they should lose and how fast it should be. And they probably, if they stop and think about it, don't really like where their head is at. They don't like that they've replaced food noise with this new kind of chatter. And I totally hear that. So I think it's always helpful in these situations to ask yourself, like, what does success actually look like? Like, objectively, like, list it out. Like, success for me means, I don't know, some people have a weight goal. Some people also, I always encourage people to have other non-scale goals. Like, it means, wearing this size of clothing or wearing this old dress that I used to wear, or, fitting comfortably in my car, or, whatever those other goals are. What does it look like for you specifically to be successful? That's the first question. And the second question is, why are those the criteria? Why are those the standards that you've set? Okay. And then the third question is, do you like those reasons? Okay. So if you are saying, well, one of the things is I want to be 150 pounds because I feel like that's just a good number to be. I've heard that that's where your BMI is supposed to be. Like that, you might not like that reason if you think about it, versus like, I want to be 150 pounds because that's the weight I was 20 years ago. I felt really healthy. It was a good place for my body. I felt really strong. Like, you might like that reason better. So again, there's no like thought police, right? You are the person that gets to decide what the reasons are, if you like them, if they're good for you. But, it's good to examine them, right? And it's good to, like, if your, brother or sister or your parent or your best friend had those reasons, would you like those? Because that's a way to kind of objectively look at them, right? Is it okay for you, but it wouldn't be okay for them because you feel like it would be unhealthy for them to be thinking about that, right? So these are just things that you want to think about. And I really applaud this viewer for having the foresight to really step back and think, hey, I need to really be appreciative of the opportunities that I have, how far I've come. It's not going to matter in a couple years, like how long this took me. Like, I need to do this for myself and my health, and not because of some predetermined timeline that really doesn't have any basis in, like, there's no reason for it to be set up like that. So thank you for shedding light on these, mind games that we can play on ourselves. And the whole point of these medications is to get you to a healthy place where you're not thinking about your weight all the time. So we don't want to swap some food noise for a different type of noise, right? So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, next question. The continuing saga with GLP podcasts with oatmeal. Can somebody on GLP-1 medications eat oatmeal for breakfast? I have enjoyed overnight oatmeal with yogurt and berries for a long time until most doctors say that oatmeal spikes your blood sugar. I'm on 5 milligrams of tirzepatide and in my 7th week of injections. Yeah, so this was a response to a video I made about food mistakes, specifically around breakfast. And you can eat oatmeal for sure. Oatmeal is amazing. I always encourage people, like if you're going to eat oatmeal, eat the least processed kind of oatmeal. Eat like the steel cut, like the chewy oatmeal. Like you want whatever grain you're eating, you want it to be the least processed as possible. And that goes for bread too. You want like the dense bread that's chewy, that has a lot of fiber in it, that has like 3 ingredients. You don't want the like squishy, plasticky, like Wonder Bread. That's not, you can, but it's not going to do the things for your GI tract that you want it to do, right? So oatmeal, like there's a spectrum of oatmeal. There's like the instant, like make it in 2 minutes kind of really processed oatmeal. And then there's really, the least amount of processing, like heavy steel cut oatmeal that has a lot of fiber, and I always encourage if anybody's having cereal, like just load it up with fruit. Like that's really going to boost the fiber. It's going to make it delicious. Like there's so many benefits to that, like increasing the fruit and vegetables and everything that we're eating is going to make things taste better. It's going to give you more dietary fiber. And it's nice to think about like, what can we have more of? I think when we're thinking about getting healthy, a lot of times people go to what do I need to cut back on? Oh, I shouldn't do this. Oh, I need to not do that. And I think it's really nice to think about, okay, I want to be my healthiest self. What can I do more of? And fruits or vegetables are always things we can do more of. So I would load up your oatmeal with fruit. If you like yogurt, you can add that, and then just make sure that the oatmeal itself is that really good hearty oatmeal. Everything, all food is going to make the blood sugar go up in some capacity, right? It's just, you don't want that processed food spike. You want a slow increase and a slow decrease, and you want it to be very measured. So those kinds of food with a lot of healthy fiber, healthy fat will really help do that for you. You're going to be satisfied for way longer, and it just tastes better too. So I'm fully on board with oatmeal. That's the kind of oatmeal that I like and that I would encourage my patients to eat. And thank you so much for sending that in. So thank you so much for watching. If you have a question, again, please leave it in the comment section down below, or leave it on another video and I will find it and add it to the list. If you're on a GLP-1 and you still have a lot of confusion, questions, food chaos, food noise, even though you're on a GLP-1 and it's really concerning you. I work with people on these types of things all the time. So if you want to learn more about how I help people just like you can click on the link in the description box down below and schedule a discovery call. And thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and please be well.